Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Am I on? Do I have sound? There we go. There I am. Good morning, everybody. Jesse Montano here, Guerilla Sports Daily, brought to you by our good friends over at Trusted American Mortgage. Go to trustedamerican.com, see how much money they can save you today. Well, here we are. New Year's Eve. It is officially the end of 2024. I honestly can't believe it. I cannot believe a couple of things. One, that the year is over. This definitely, in my adult age, has felt like the quickest year that has gone by. This year has been a blur. We were actually just upstairs talking about stuff that happened, back in January, and it's like, holy smokes, was that really this year? Like, it's crazy how quickly this year has gone by. And the other thing is, here we are in the Guerilla Sports Studios for the end of another year. It's our second New Year's that we've celebrated here with you folks here at Guerilla Sports, and I just can't believe it. Can't believe the support and appreciation that we've gotten from everybody. It's truly been humbling last year and a half, but 2024 for sure, and we're just really excited. This is a week full of meetings and planning and all kinds of stuff for 2025. And I just, it's been really exciting to look back at, what we've done and what we're going to do ahead. So thank you all very much for being here with us today and all year. There's plenty of you that, we see in the chat every single day. And even if we're not seeing you every day, we appreciate that you're spending your time here with us at Guerilla Sports. We're going to round out the year with what's happening here in Colorado, what's going on with the Nuggets, the Broncos, the Avs, and we are going to talk a little bit about college football playoffs as well that are kicking off here. Well, they're not kicking off today, but they're continuing on today into tomorrow. So we will get into all of that as, look, here again, here we are at the end of the year. Nuggets and Avs feel like they're getting their footing going, and the Broncos. Exciting times, hopefully, for the Denver Broncos. Let's start here with the Denver Nuggets, who picked up a big win last night. Yes, it was against the lowly Utah Jazz, but for a team like the Nuggets, and we've drawn some parallels to the Avs throughout the year as well, throughout the start of this season, I should say. When you start the way that the Nuggets did, so inconsistent, so up and down, struggling to find your identity and struggling to find that consistency that we've come to expect from this core of the Denver Nuggets. Look, you're trying to just constantly build, and you're trying to continue to move things in the right direction, and you don't get to pick your schedule. Even if you get an easy team, you got to do the right thing. You got to take care of business. And that's exactly what the Denver Nuggets did last night in Utah. They just came out and took care of business. 18 fast break points for Christian Brown. 18 fast break points for Christian Brown. And that's just the start. That's just where I started my notes, because there was so much to go off of here. Every starter, double-digit points for the Denver Nuggets. P-Watt, Peyton Watson, coming off the bench, hanging 13 points of his own. And then the triple-double duo, Russell Westbrook. My brain always wants to go to Russell Wilson. When I start Russell with a W, it always wants to go Russell Wilson. Russell Westbrook and Nikola Jokic, dueling triple doubles. And get this, how's this for a stat line? Russell Westbrook becomes just the second player in NBA history to record a triple double. It's a perfect triple double, if you will. Triple double with no misses, no turnovers. He goes 7 for 7 from the field, doesn't turn the ball over once, and has just a great night. This is what you have been looking for out of the Denver Nuggets. 7-3 in their last 10, and really for the last 5+ games, on the whole, this team has started to look more like what you have come to expect. Hasn't been perfect. It has not been perfect, but it's never going to be over the course of an 82-game season. The Denver Nuggets, I was just talking to Ruben, who you guys will hear from later on this week, right here on Guerilla Sports Daily. The Denver Nuggets, well, yes, Nikola Jokic, he's the center point. All things run through Nikola Jokic. But this team really kind of goes as Jamal Murray goes. Yes, Nikola Jokic is going to be great pretty much every night. That's a relatively safe bet. But the consistency at which this team plays with and their ability to string together wins or quality play for any extended amount of time is heavily reliant on what can Jamal Murray do coming in behind and being that supporting cast behind Nikola Jokic. We've already seen it several points this year. Nikola Jokic, as great as he is, once again in the MVP conversation, Nikola Jokic can't win these games by himself. And you even go back to the NBA championship that this team wins just a couple of years ago. You don't win that ring, hang that banner without the heroics of Jamal Murray being able to come in and support what you know you are going to get out of Nikola Jokic. As we got, I think there's a truck or something moving through back there, honking their horn outside the studio here. There's been all kinds of construction, different things going on. Sorry if you guys heard that. Jay looked at me like you guys probably heard it. Also, is your camera on? Oh, all right. He's getting his camera on. Jay's been out of town. It's just good to see you back there, Jay. We haven't had, no one else turns the camera on, so there's no one else for me really to talk to if Jay's not back there, turn it on. We'll see Jay in a second. Again, this team goes as Jamal Murray goes. He's finally starting to settle in. He is strung together what I would consider to be 5 consecutive games that you like what you've seen from Jamal Murray. And like I said, all 5 starters last night, double-digit points. It felt like a vintage Nuggets team effort. Again, yes, you're playing the Utah Jazz, but you can only play who the schedule puts you up against. And I just wanted to make sure I had it right here. 20 points for Jamal Murray, 10 assists last night. Again, you don't need Jamal Murray to be Nikola Jokic. That's why you've got Nikola Jokic. But this team, as we've seen this season, and even into last, if Jamal Murray isn't healthy, if he's missing from the lineup, if his game is off, if his mind is elsewhere, this team struggles. Yes, of course, they're a playoff team, but they're probably not the perennial contender that we've kind of started to classify them as when Jamal Murray is struggling like he had for a large stretch last playoffs into the early part of this season. And we're not saying Jamal Murray is out of the woods yet. He's got to keep doing this. But it's a good start for him, and it's helping the Denver Nuggets drive the results that they need and keeping them within striking distance in the standings in the West. They sit 8 games back of the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's a large gap. You're not at the halfway point yet, so you've got time to make that up if you are wanting to pursue and chase down that top spot in the Western Conference. Just a game back of the Dallas Mavericks. Look, there's kind of a bunch of teams behind Oklahoma City, all several games back. So the Nuggets 3 games back of the Memphis Grizzlies, who sit in second place in the Western Conference. Another conversation that we were having earlier today. If you're the Nuggets, if you're the Avs, given the starts to the season that these teams had, you are wanting to stay within striking distance, stay within relevancy in the playoffs till you can hopefully find the form that everyone is expecting you to find. It's going to be tough to chase down Oklahoma City for the Nuggets this year. But hey, look, these are teams, the Denver Nuggets a team, just get in. Just get in. Jamal Murray's going. If Jokic is going, you're going to give yourself a chance. Just get in. That's what the Nuggets are doing right now, playing probably their best basketball of the season. so far. All right, let's take it on over. Take it on over to the field where all the drama lies here in Denver this New Year's week. The Denver Broncos, for the third straight week, are looking for just one win. One win to punch their ticket to the postseason. The first time in 8 years. The first time since Peyton Manning lifted a Super Bowl trophy high in the air. This team is looking to get back into the playoffs. They've had 2 chances to get it done. They don't need any other help. The Broncos control their own destiny. 1 win out of their final 3 punches the ticket and gets postseason football back in Denver. They have not been able to do it through 2 weeks. A bit of a choke against the LA Chargers 2 weeks ago. Went into halftime with the lead, feeling good, and gave it all away as Justin Herbert and the Chargers came storming back to solidify their playoff spot. Then this past week, the Denver Broncos were gift-wrapped an opportunity in overtime. After Sean Payton opted not to go for too late, told the media after, look, all we needed was the tie. All we needed was the tie. And actually, I've got that clip, and I'm going to play it for you guys right here, where he talks about needing to go for the tie.
Excuse me. My voice is a little hoarse. Obviously, a hard-fought game. A tough one to lose. We had our opportunities. I'm proud of this team. I thought it wasn't perfect, but man, the will to compete and answer. It was pretty impressive. We spent some time thinking about. I'm gonna answer this now. All right, going for 2. We knew a tie though was for us just as beneficial as a win. And we felt like we had the momentum at that point. So, look, it went back and forth, and in the end, we didn't make enough plays. They did. All right. Any questions?
The end of the day, they didn't make enough plays, and the Bengals did. Now, of course, the kick that he's talking about, or the going for 2, taking the extra point instead that he's talking about, came with just 8 seconds to go. Marvin Mims on a miracle 25-yard touchdown pass from Bo Nix, catches, somehow gets 2 feet down, makes the score 24-23 in favor of the Bengals. A win punched the ticket to the playoffs for the Denver Broncos. So did a tie. If they could get through overtime, they would, without losing the game, they would be in. Sean Payton makes the safe decision to say, we're going to tie the game, get to overtime, and take our chances. Either getting a win or that we can hold on long enough to get a tie. Now, there's also a lot of conversations to be had, and I'm sure Nate Jackson talked a lot about them yesterday right here on Daily, so I don't need to rehash all of it. There was several decisions that the Broncos made in overtime where the logic of saying we wanted to go for a tie combined with some of the decisions that were made in overtime were like, were you going for a tie? Because you seem to be perfectly content stopping the clock for the Cincinnati Bengals to get the ball back after they missed a field goal and seemingly gave up on their playoff hopes and laid down for the Denver Broncos to take the final playoff spot. Some weird decisions, some bad play calling from Sean Payton, and it ends up being T. Higgins. You can't give Joe Burrow that many opportunities. T. Higgins does win the game for the Bengals with a touchdown in overtime. And here we are. All comes down to this for the Denver Broncos. One final game at home against the Kansas City Chiefs, with one major asterisk next to that sentence. The Kansas City Chiefs have locked up everything that there is for them to lock up in terms of seating, home field, the bye. the Chiefs have already announced several starters will be sitting. The Denver Broncos are favored by over 8.5 points to beat the Kansas City Chiefs this Sunday at 2:20 here in the Mile High City. There's a couple different ways you can look at this. One, the Kansas City Chiefs don't want to even leave the door open for the Cincinnati Bengals to get in. If you guys remember, we've talked about it several times throughout this NFL season, right here on this show. The Cincinnati Bengals were a preseason favorite, heavy favorite, not just to make the playoffs, but to be a Super Bowl contender behind Joe Burrow. Season has not gone the way they thought, got off to a really rocky start, despite what Joe Burrow describes as been the best season of his career in the NFL, with a lot of people saying that if the Bengals find a way to claw back and get into the playoffs in the final week of the season, they've got to win and the Broncos have to lose. But if they do find a way to get in, that Joe Burrow should be the runaway MVP. That's how good he has been this season, despite the Bengals' overall struggles in the standings, picking up wins, and really some heartbreaking and unexpected losses throughout the season. So the Kansas City Chiefs, many are saying, well, if we just let the Broncos win, we don't have to worry about Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals because the Bengals need the Broncos to lose against the Chiefs. I do wonder a little bit. Look, the Chiefs and the Broncos, these are rivals. It's a rivalry that the Kansas City Chiefs have owned for the last several years. I don't know. Do they want to just lay down? The other question that I do find interesting, and look, maybe the Chiefs don't care, but they are going to get a bye week. Do you want your starters going 2 full weeks without playing at all? I do think it might be interesting if there's all this talk about the fact that starters aren't going to play, and then maybe you get a quarter and a half of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce out there balling out a little bit. I heard Nate Jackson saying it yesterday. The Denver Broncos need not concern themselves with anything that the Chiefs are doing. Anything. If the Chiefs are playing their entire starting lineup, or if they are playing practice squad backups, the Denver Broncos should not care. Because right now, this young Denver Broncos team, if you start worrying yourself too much with what's happening on the other side of the field, who's in the lineup on the other side, you are going to risk a colossal meltdown to end this season where you could miss the playoffs. This is a young team, still learning how to win, still learning how to play with pressure, still learning how to play with expectations. There are real expectations this week that the Denver Broncos find a way to win this game. Like I said, they're 9-point favorites from Vegas. The expectation is that they win this game and get onto the playoffs. For me, it's looked like the pressure has gotten to them in the last 2 weeks. You start thinking about the playoffs, and you start thinking about how you're going to celebrate ending the drought here in Denver. And you start thinking about how this is going to be the team that are the heroes to Denver Bronco fans everywhere. And you stop worrying about the preparation for this week. The Denver Broncos need to make sure that they are more prepared for this week than any other week of football that they've played. It does not matter that you could potentially be going up against a preseason Kansas City roster. If you start thinking that way and start thinking about the celebration that's going to ensue in the locker room after, you are going to be left with one of the most disappointing losses in franchise history to a team that has no business beating you. The Denver Broncos got to stay focused on the task at hand, and that is beating the Kansas City Chiefs this upcoming Sunday at home. You do that, and you're in. And yeah, you're going to have to go on the road to Buffalo and play against Allen and everything that is going on up there in Buffalo. Looks like a bit of a juggernaut team. But hey, that's all right. You guys hear me talk a lot about the parallels between the Colorado Avalanche and Denver Nuggets. when this Colorado Avalanche team first started what has now been I believe, 7-year run of consecutive playoff appearances. That first year, they got in as the 8th seed, last place in the West. And they got beat up a little bit by the Nashville Predators, who had just won the President's Trophy for the league's top record. They got beat up, but they battled. And they showed some heart. And they won a game late that they had to come back in. And it was a series that gave you real optimism for what was coming and what was building and the lessons that were learned by the young players on that Avalanche team that year, getting walloped by one of the top teams in the league. The lesson they took away from that are part of what led them to a 1-seed upset the next season and a Game 7 in the second round on the cusp of going to the conference finals, which all built to eventually a Stanley Cup championship just a few years later. Jared Bednar, head coach for the Avalanche, has told us, I used to hate when people would say you have to lose before you could win. I used to think that was bullshit, he would say, or he has said. He said, but after having gone through it and seeing everything that it took, he said, I hate to say this. You got to lose before you can win. You got to understand that heartbreak. You got to remember that feeling of when you lost, when you had the expectation, when you had the belief that you could keep going. You've got to remember what that feels like in order to fight through it. On a smaller scale, to me, that's what the Denver Broncos are going up against here. Two things. One, getting into the playoffs and understanding what it took to get there is a massive lesson in and of itself. And even if you go out and got walloped by the Buffalo Bills, let's say that happens, well, that's going to be your first real taste of that's what it takes. That is a playoff team. That is a Super Bowl contender. That's what we have to build towards. On a much smaller scale, talking about losing before you can win, and again, I actually, if as a competitor, I would hate getting that final game against a bunch of scrubbo nobodies coming off the bench in the practice squad. I want to beat the best. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. But relative to you got to lose before you can win, for me, Denver Broncos have done their losing. These last couple weeks, they went out knowing what they needed to get into the playoffs. And they haven't been able to get it done. Take the experience from the last 2 weeks and what that felt like after the game and carry that forward into this week. And if you do end up playing a bunch of practice squad guys for the Chiefs, that's fine. Beat them 40-0. Remember what it felt like the last 2 weeks, the disappointment in that locker room, and the Broncos will be fine. A lot at stake for a young, learning, hungry Denver Broncos team this Sunday against Kansas City Chiefs. You guys know we'll have our coverage locked in all week long for you. Quickly, let's move on over to the Colorado Avalanche. I'm not going to have a lot to say here. Megan Angley and I will be on for Off Ice this afternoon at 1:30 to preview tonight's game against the Winnipeg Jets. Avs round out 2025 by hosting the Winnipeg Jets here in Denver. And this will be the 10th consecutive non-COVID season that the Avs will host a game here at Ball Arena on December 31st. It's the 20th time overall that the Avs will play on New Year's Eve. They sport a 9-7-3 record. So actually a losing record. If you just lump overtime losses in with regular losses, 9-10 on New Year's Eve. The Avs always do a fireworks display indoors on the ice and stuff like that after. Always a fun game. I thought Megan Angley put this game perfectly when she talked about it yesterday. This is a measuring stick game for both teams. The Avalanche still trying to claw their way back into where they truly want to be standings-wise, sitting right now third in the Central, chasing down the Winnipeg Jets, who sit at the top of the NHL after getting off to their best start in franchise history. Winnipeg Jets sit atop the NHL, so the Avs, it's a measuring stick game for them because they're trying to see where do we stack up against this team who is the best in the NHL right now. And for the Winnipeg Jets, a good season for them last year. Really good season for them last year. Smoked by the Avalanche in the first round of the playoffs. And it was one of those moments, kind of like what we were just talking about with the Broncos, where the Winnipeg Jets had a great season, got into the playoffs, and got up against a real Stanley Cup contender, and were not even close. So for the Winnipeg Jets, yes, they sit at the top of the league, but they want to see where this iteration of their team stacks up against the Colorado Avalanche, a team that is a perennial Cup contender right now in the NHL. So these are fun ones. The Winnipeg Jets have owned the Avalanche in the regular season a little bit these last two seasons. The Winnipeg Jets won the first meeting between these two teams this season, swept the regular season series with the Avs last year before, like we said, the Avalanche took it to them in the playoffs, beating them in just 5 games, winning 4 in a row after losing game 1. So fun game tonight on tap down at Ball Arena. Last thing for you guys, college football playoffs. Guys, I am such a big fan of the way that they are doing this now. The only thing that I want to see them do differently is expand it to 16 teams. Why stop at 12? The drama, I'm just loving it. We got one game tonight, and then the other 3 games take place tomorrow on New Year's Day. It's actually why the NHL's Winter Classic, which I didn't even mention here on principle until right now, the Winter Classic is today instead of traditionally like it always has been on New Year's Day. Except for there was one year, it was on January 2nd. Doesn't matter. The NHL did not want to go head-to-head with the college football playoffs. You got Notre Dame and Georgia tonight. Make sure I'm watching that one. You got Boise and Penn State tomorrow. You got Texas and Arizona State tomorrow. And then you got Oregon and Ohio State tomorrow as well. Is Brady still back there? I was going to talk some shit about the Longhorns. And actually, hold on, I'm sorry. I messed that up. Boise State and Penn State are playing tonight, 7:30. Georgia and Notre Dame join the slate for tomorrow. They are actually the primetime game for tomorrow evening. All those games on ESPN. And then we'll get the semifinals starting on January 9th and 10th. National championship at the end of January on the 20th. This is the way it always should have been done. College football finally getting it right. Like I said, the only thing is let's expand this out a little bit more, get more teams involved, turn this into a full-on 2-month event. I'm here for it. Make sure you guys are tuning in for all of those. That's going to do it. Guerilla Sports Daily, the last one of 2024. Like I said, guys, thank you all so much for all the support, everything you guys have given to us here in 2024. We literally could not do any of this without you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in, watching, and listening every single day. I'm Jesse Montano. That's Jay back there behind the glass. There it is. It's working now. Oh, see, that was like a nice, that was a sitcom. That was a sitcom entrance. That was Jay waiting for his nameplate to walk up. Show up. It doesn't matter. It's the end of 2024. None of this even matters anymore. Have a great New Year, everybody. Please stay safe tonight. If you're out, don't drive. There's all kinds of different services that'll give you rides tonight, either for free or at a discounted rate. Don't do something dumb tonight right at the end of the year. Please be safe. We want to see you back here on Thursday for Guerilla Sports Daily. Thank you guys all so much for everything. I'm Jesse. Jay back there behind the glass. We will talk to you guys in the new year. Thanks so much, everybody.